Minister Scott Morrison will fly to Rome today before making his way to Glasgow for the G20 summit. The government maintains Australia will refuse to back a 30% reduction in methane emissions during the talks next week. The US and European pledge to cut emissions by the end of the decade is expected to be made binding at the COP26 conference. According to The Australian today, the government fears the target will negatively impact the agriculture, coal and gas industries. The decision is believed to be part of the agreement made to convince the National Party to sign up to net zero by 2050. The PM says he'll release the economic modelling underpinning his plan within weeks.
As the federal government set about selling its new climate credentials,
this is our plan to hit net zero emissions by 2050.
Critics were panning the plan.
It's not a plan to get to net zero by 2050.
The rest of the world won't be saying it's heroic when they see the lack of detail in this plan. They'll be calling it a joke.
Taking aim at the reliance on technologies which are in part undeveloped.
Nearly a third of the emissions reductions he hopes to claim for his net zero policy by 2050 come from technological innovations that don't exist yet.
If that's the case, they should never use one of these because they don't believe they exist.
This from a software billionaire. I understand technology pretty damn well. This is not a technology-driven approach. Also missing from the Prime Minister's plan was the modelling underpinning its assumptions. Yesterday, Scott Morrison said,
"We're releasing modelling at another time."
Under sustained pressure in Parliament.
Why didn't the Prime Minister ask Treasury to model the impact? Why won't the Prime Minister release the modelling he claims to have?
Will the Prime Minister now table the modelling for his so-called net zero plan?
The Prime Minister revealed that will happen within weeks.
We'll be fully transparent about the policies as we have been, Mr Speaker, and we will release that modelling in the next few weeks.
Labor pressing the issue in Senate estimates too. Treasury's boss revealing the department had little input into the modelling process, other than to second to staff, attend some meetings and advise on the business risk if Australia didn't join the rest of the world.
That was the extent of our involvement.
Australia's net zero commitment won't bring to an end the international pressure ahead of the Glasgow summit. The United Nations declaring developed countries need to boost their interim targets too, warning the globe will warm another 2.7 degrees this century. The federal government is adamant it won't be updating its 2030 target. Instead, it's opted for a projection of a 30 to 35% reduction by the end of the decade. While Labor's climate position remains under wraps, it's insisting it will be more ambitious. Andrea Crothers, Sky News, Canberra.